Good evening, members, and welcome to all those present, including members of the public and press. Before we begin, I need to go over the usual housekeeping rules. There are no fire drills planned for this evening, so if a fire alarm sounds, please leave the building by the nearest exit and assemble in the Queen's Gardens at the front of the building. Please do not re-enter the building until you're advised to do so. Please also ensure that your mobile phones have been switched off or set to silent. And I welcome those joining us in the public gallery and would ask that they follow any guidance and instructions given by anyone seated at the top table. This council meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the Borough Council's website. I would like to remind members that standards of behaviour for the meeting set out in the Council standing orders apply, and as usual we'll have set protocols around speaking during this meeting. No member should speak until invited to do so. If you wish to speak, please could I ask that you raise and keep your hand high until you've been acknowledged. Please would all members in the room use their microphones whenever they speak, as without them anyone watching online will not be able to hear you. To use the microphones, please press the button at the front and centre when invited to speak, and wait a moment for the light on your microphone to come on. Please remember to turn off your microphone once you have finished. Members, in the interest of managing the meeting, please do not approach anyone seated at the top table for advice without first gaining agreement. Should you wish to do so, please raise your hand high. Please could I ask at the end of the meeting to make sure that you take all your belongings and any litter with you. Thank you. We will now commence the business for this evening. Members, the first item on the agenda is apologies. I have received apologies from councillors Northcott, Casey Hume, Allport, Lawley and Diamond. Do we have any further apologies, please? Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Paul Waring, Jill Waring, Andrew Parker and Simon Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. We move on to the next agenda item, which is number 2. This is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from any members or officers in relation to any items of business contained within the agenda? No? Fine. Thank you. So agenda item 3, members, is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of May 2025. And you'll find these minutes on pages 5 to 8 of your agenda. Can the minutes please be agreed? Fine, thank you. The minutes are taken as agreed. Item 4 is Mayor's announcements. Firstly, I would like to wish the former Lord Lieutenant of Staffordshire, Sir Ian Dodson, all the best in his retirement. And we do look forward to welcoming his successor, Professor Elizabeth Barnes, who's actually known as Liz, to Newcastle in due course. With regards to mayoral activities, in August there will be 2 walks. Members will recall that I'm walking around the boundary. On Sunday the 10th of August and Saturday the 24th of August as part of my one mayor meandering walk round the boundary of the borough. Details of these walks will be posted on my Facebook page, Mayor of Newcastle-under-Lyme. A fundraising event for Papyrus which is one of the charities, will be held on Friday, the 26th of September at Borough Hall, which is in Cheshire East. Cheshire East have kindly agreed to the event taking place, which I shall be attending as Mayor, given the event is to raise money for one of my charities. Thank you. Members, we now turn to the next item of business on this evening's agenda, which is for project approval for the decarbonisation of the J2 Leisure Centre. And a copy of the report can be found on pages 9 to 15 of your agenda. So, Councillor David Hutchison, will you please now introduce the report?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We all know Jubilee 2. Jubilee 2 is a multi-purpose leisure complex which incorporates a main pool, a learner pool, fitness centre, dance studios and a cafe. It was constructed in 2011 and includes ground first and second floor levels with a combination of single and double height spaces. The Jubilee 2 Leisure Centre, by its very nature, uses a tremendous amount of energy in terms of gas and electricity. The swimming pool areas need to be hotter than the dance and the fitness areas above, but as hot air rises, the current system is working very hard to cool down the first and the second floors. As part of the revised Sustainable Environment Strategy and associated delivery plan, the Sustainable Environment team pursued external funding opportunities to help with the decarbonisation and the energy efficient journey for Jubilee 2. Members, the report you have before you tonight recommends we accept the Department for Energy Security funding of a grant for £2,790,173 to assist in carrying out a low carbon heating and energy security project at the Jubilee 2. The amount needed for the project is £3,207,266. The SAILEX funding grant, as I said, is £2,792,173, leaving a Newcastle Borough Council contribution of £417,093. This amount is included in the Borough Council Capital Programme for the Sustainable Environment Strategy Associated Delivery Plan. Because of the amount of money involved, we need full council approval to accept this funding, and I ask for your approval this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. Councillor Simon Tagg, would you like to second the recommendations?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really would do. I think it's really pleasing that we've had this funding. Completely agree with what David has said. I think we've missed out on some funding opportunities for J2 in the past. And we missed out to actually Kids Grow Sports Centre, who got the funding for some measures for their centre. So really pleased that we've got a substantial amount of money to bring some measures in that will save energy, cut carbon emissions from what is an energy absorbent facility in town. And I think it's really good that we've got that, and look forward to it coming to fruition and under the leadership of David and others to ensure that we get the bang for the buck from this money and also bring our costs down and also meet our objectives when it comes to carbon emissions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, we will now move to the debate. Would any members wishing to speak please raise their hands high? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Councillor Stubbs, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll of course be supporting this report. I think it's fantastic that we've managed to do this, but I think it's almost a year to the day that the Climate Change Committee reported the following. The Conservative government has given inconsistent messages on its commitment to the actions needed to reach net zero, with cancellations, delays and exemptions to important funding and policies. How refreshing is it to see that the current government not only giving a clear message on net zero, but also making available £2.8 million to Newcastle to give our residents not only a sports facility to be proud of, but also one with a tiny environmental footprint compared to its peers. Can I please give my hearty congratulations? As many know, I work in fundraising, and I know the competition that would be have taken place to get this money. So, from myself and the group, congratulations to the officers involved.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Stubbs. Councillor Holland, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to support the recommendation that's come in front of us. I think to respond to the issue that Councillor Stubbs raised, if the Labour government was so keen on reducing our carbon emissions, they'd offer money to everyone and it wouldn't have been a highly competitive process to reach this stage. I think we all know that the real reason why this is necessary is the Secretary of State's zealous policies, which have resulted in exorbitant energy prices. People in this country, this authority, our taxpayers, other businesses locally are all paying through the nose for their energy as a result of the disastrous policies that the government that Mike Stubbs supports is following. He's having a laugh now. He mentions leisure facilities. I'll repeat again because it's true and everybody loves it when I repeat it, including the Labour group. They voted behind closed doors to close Kidsgrove Sports Centre. And it is surprising to me that the Labour group would come here tonight and to praise their government for spending our taxpayers' money, because it is taxpayers' money. On this occasion, it is welcome because that money will go towards reducing bills and reducing the future liability of an energy-intensive site on the taxpayer. But I do feel that the Labour group ought to reflect on what it is their government is doing to our residents and to our leisure centre through artificially keeping the price of energy high.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Councillor Simon Tagg, would you like to sum up, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing further to add. Thank you for the comments from everybody. I think everybody's welcoming this, even though there's a disagreement on. I think we lost out in a previous bid, which was under the previous government, to Kidsgrove Sports Centre. I think we still got the benefit from that because that was for solar panels and all sorts of stuff for Kidsgrove Sports Centre, which again is for our community and is for making that centre viable by bringing the energy costs down there as well. So I think it's a win-win-win we've had in a row for our sports centres in Newcastle Borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The recommendations have been moved and seconded. So we will now move to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. It would appear that the vote is unanimous, so thank you for that. Members, the next item of business on this evening's agenda is the leader's statement. A copy can be found on pages 17 to 19 of your agenda pack. I'm going to ask Councillor Simon Tagg if he would like to introduce his statement. I will then invite members to put questions to the leader or the relevant portfolio holder. I will take each paragraph of the statement in turn and will invite up to 3 questions at a time before I ask the leader to respond. If I could please remind members, this isn't a debate. Once the leader has responded, there is no right for members to reply. So, Councillor Tagg, would you like to introduce your statement, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd introduce my statement and obviously ask members to look at it, comment and question. I'm willing to take the questions, either answer myself or I'll refer to the relevant portfolio holder. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, we note in paragraph 1 that Cabinet met on the 6th of May, the 3rd of June and the 8th of July. Do members have any comments or questions on any items from the aforementioned Cabinet meetings that are not covered in this leader's statement? No? Thank you. It's paragraph 2 next, isn't it? Paragraph 2 is about Wally's Quarry odour issues. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 2? You missed the one. Then. Okay, fine, thank you. So I've got 2 members. I'll start with Councillor Adcock, if I may, please. Your hand went up first, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it's welcome that we've continued to see the odour complaints and the odour emissions data going in the right direction and falling over the last few months. And it's also welcome because there was anxiety around the pumping station MMF being removed. It's welcome that we've got an assurance that that will indeed be brought back if the data starts going in the other direction. So that's very welcome and some reassurance. I did write to the EA recently because I do feel like it's welcome that there's multi-agency groups being set up, and I'm sure there's a lot of work going on talking about the restoration. But I would like to see some information, more information from the EA that's available to the residents, because I know there is still considerable anxiety amongst the residents in my ward and other wards about the long-term future for the site, including the restoration, the funding settlement, and so on. So would the leader agree with me that as soon as is possible, that the EA should be holding some kind of public meeting, public forum where the residents can have their questions answered directly? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adcock. Councillor Wheeldon, please.
I've obviously checked with the residents. I'm one of the 2 representatives of Thistlebury Ward as their councillor, and like Silverdale, where Councillor Adcock is representative, we were very hard hit by the odours from Wally's Quarry. Having checked with residents, they're delighted that the odours have diminished to a point where they're not actually noticing them anymore, other than just an odd occasion. So they're quite happy about it. What they are quite sensitive and anxious about is the fact that it may reoccur again because of all the difficulties historically with the Environment Agency. So what they're looking for is some certainty and assurance that the EA are going to continue to do their job properly. And it's a concern that the odours have now diminished so significantly. And when the EA were actually monitoring it, Wally's Quarry regime, that they were not as successful then as they're being now when everything lands at their doorstep. So it's the assurance that people are looking for that there's going to be no reoccurrence, and the Environment Agency are going to continue to have their finger on the pulse. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wheeldon. Councillor Simon Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Is there no more speakers? That was only 2, wasn't it?
I didn't see anybody else asking to speak.
Yes, fine.
But sorry, just for a moment, did anybody else want to speak? No, fine. Councillor Tagg, please.
Thank you, Rupert. Thank you, Joe. And I think valid points made by Rupert particularly. And I think that interaction by the Environment Agency with the public is really important. And also, I think with the liaison committee members, the liaison committee seems to have gone off the radar. But in my meeting with the EA and other partners a few weeks ago, I did ask that they would, if they were willing to convene the liaison committee. And they were saying that they were willing to consider that. So I think we should follow that up. But I think certainly a stakeholders meeting, particularly with the uncertainty about what's going to go on in the autumn, and of course when the bund money runs out, is really important. I think we have to keep an eye on this. I think we have to really make a case for that monitoring equipment to come back to Silverdale Pumping Station if it needs to. And also, members may have had an email today, the regular update from the Environment Agency, which has come out this afternoon, saying that they are discontinuing the dedicated Wallace Quarry reporting line online in favour of a standard one, which is actually a new system that's been brought in to report all sorts of things. But I did test it out, and you have to go through 3 or 4 pages before you get to where you're actually saying it's Wallace Quarry landfill, where of course the dedicated one is straight through to report Wallace Quarry. So we've seen a downgrading on that already. So I think we've got to be really careful, and we've got to be really observant of the Environment Agency through this. And I hope that they will continue to focus on this, and we'll keep their hands in the fire, so to speak, over this, and their noses on the job, just as our Borough Council staff are, and we're not letting up on this. It's the first agenda on every cabinet we have. We have our staff dealing with any odour complaints, and I can say in the report, when this was published, there were very few complaints, 5 so far. I don't think that's gone up significantly now, but I can say is that some of those have been investigated by our staff as well, and have gone out and verified and also looked into those. So we're still, through our officers, doing the job here, and we must ensure that the Environment Agency does its job, and also that the national government does its job by ending this, by funding the restoration and bringing this nightmare to a close for our residents in Newcastle-under-Lyme. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. Members, paragraph 3 is about fields in trust. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 3? Okay. Councillor Holland first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members will remember that I am a long-term campaigner, as is Councillor Tagg, on the protection of green spaces in our borough, in particular the protection of open green spaces in the Westlands ward. So does the leader join me in welcoming the news last week that the designation of village green status has been given to 3 famous, may I say, much loved green spaces in the Westlands ward? And does he agree with me that this extra protection will complement the protection given by Fields in Trust status and stop Angela Rayner from building over our green spaces?
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Councillor Wheeldon, please.
I think Councillor Holland has stolen a bit of my thunder. I was just going to ask, the 88 parks and green spaces is to be applauded, but is there any potential for increasing that 88 and looking for even more green spaces? But I think he's partially answered that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. Councillor Heeson, please.
Thank you. I don't think there's anything I can ask now because both of them stole my thunder. Okay.
Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond to those 2.5 speakers, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I join my ward colleagues, of course, Mark and Jill, in welcoming the decision by Staffordshire County Council's Rights of Way Committee, which also deals with green space and village green applications. And of course, that's because of the dedication of the residents to make the application many years ago now. some of those residents who first made the application are no longer with us. That's how long ago it was. It took a while to come to the top of the list. But Repton Drive, Winchester Drive and Clayton Field are going to be put on the list of Village Green. They'll also be in our Fields in Trust applications as well, so they'll have that extra protection as well. And I think you're quite right, Councillor Holland, as we see since this new government came in last July, they are demanding an extra 2,000 homes in Newcastle on top of those which we are putting in the local plan already, which is significant growth over the next 20 odd years. We've got to put even more in. So I think council owned land that is valued, such as those green spaces, and a lot more in the borough. There are some more village green status applications in the pipeline as well. And of course, there are our Fields in Trust, those 88. And I can confirm to Councillor Wheeldon that we are looking for more and looking to put more in there as well. But we have to not overload the Fields in Trust process. So our Deputy Chief Exec is feeding a pipeline through, and we should hear back pretty soon on the first tranche of applications for Fields in Trust. So giving them that extra protection outside of the local plan, outside of this, another administration coming into this council and changing the decision, but also really importantly, where we're in the land of forced local government reorganisation, a council that we are submerged into taking a decision to sell those bits of land for housing. This will be, particularly when we talked about the 3 now in the Westlands, there's going to be double protection on those, on and above the protection they have in the local plan as well. So really pleased, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Tagg. Did anybody else want to speak on this item before I move on? No, fine, thank you. Members, paragraph 4 is about the devolution and forced local government reorganisation update. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 4? Thank you. Councillor Fear, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's a very sad subject, of course. It's a shame this is even on the agenda. Nobody wants this, and we waste loads of money on it in a somewhat transparent attempt by the Labour Party to gerrymander local government. But those things being said, I recall that at our last meeting, we noted that Staffordshire Moorlands Council didn't seem to be cognizant of our own position about the compulsory reorganisation, and that we wrote a letter to them. I'd just like to ask the Leader of the Council whether we've had any reply to that letter, and whether he would agree with me that looking at developments in the Moorlands recently, it seems though the Council sadly have somewhat thrown in the towel, despite the fact very clearly residents there are deeply hostile to this process. And I'm sure he would agree with me that that certainly isn't going to happen at this council. We will be defending our borough all the way through this process.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. Councillor Turnock, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Labour government's forced local government reorganisation obviously comes at a cost. I understand that the council has to date set aside £200,000 into a budget to help pay for what the government claims is going to be a money-saving exercise. In the report that went to Cabinet, references made to funding coming from central government to work up detailed LGR proposals. Can the leader please update the council on whether any money has been received, and if so, how much?
Thank you, Councillor Turnock. I just had the 2 speakers, so perhaps Councillor Tagg would like to respond, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the questions from both councillors. I haven't received a response from Staffordshire Moorlands District Council. Of course, at their meeting a week or so ago, the council, the Labour-controlled council with independents, agreed their proposal, which had come from one of their committees, relating to obviously a merger with Stoke, plus include taking in a bit of Stone and also Toxeter, which of course is part of East Staffordshire and Stafford boroughs against their will, I would say, because they are against that. And of course, we had a decision here, which was one of them to investigate, talking to Staffordshire Moorlands about a North Staffordshire unitary without Stoke. Waiting for a response, haven't seen it. So I don't know what more we can do on that other than keep on asking the question. But I would say when Councillor Thea does talk about that Moorlands have thrown in the tower, I don't think they have, because their MP is firmly against, Karen Bradley, firmly against the reorganisation of into a North Staffordshire authority, with Stoke being the dominant party, and also the group there under the leadership of Mark DeVille is opposing it as well. So all is not lost there, I think, to try and get them to see sense as we move forward in this process. Thank you to Councillor Turnock for the question. And I think he said allocating 200k already into this, which was what's a very good phrase. What was supposed to be a money-saving project is actually a cost project at the moment, with no sort of reassurance that we actually save any money out of reorganisation in the future, looking at where this has happened before. I think we had £366,000 allotted to the 10 councils in Staffordshire. That has been argued amongst various councils. In an early stage, it was going to be non-coming to Newcastle. We have made an appeal to the ministry to say that we get our fair share. It's based on population size. It will only be a small percentage of the money that we need, but we will hear in August about the funding allocation that we have that we can use on our proposals, but also it won't just be on our proposal. It will actually be for future, for fighting the corner of Newcastle in whatever circumstances comes out. We need to know the data set. We need to know what county services cost to deliver in Newcastle. We need to know what it would be, what it would take to have a merged council with Moorlands, whether we need to bring anybody else in, etc., etc. Or we just be relying on the data that the City Council was providing, and we cannot allow that, because in the two proposals they put forward to date, they've got the population of our borough wrong in both of them. So I don't think we can trust the data that the City Council is bringing forward. So I think we've been forced into doing this. That's why it's called forced local government reorganisation on the agenda. And we will fight Newcastle's corner continually, as we did, and this council fully supported back in March our position, and we're beginning to put that forward. And we've had discussions with Shropshire. Myself and the Chief Executive have got discussions coming up with Telford. We are trying to discuss with Staffordshire Moorlands if they'd answer our letters. And also I've had conversations with leaders of other districts in the county as well. And also our new county council leadership as well. I've had a meeting with them. They are still looking to decide what their position is. Once that position is clearer, we'll have a clearer picture on what the county council are looking to do. As you were aware, the previous administration had made a decision to fight for a county-wide unitary without Stoke. There's no indication yet what the new administration will do. So I think it's steady as she goes. We will begin to do the work that we need to do towards that November deadline. I will assure members that it will come to council here to make a decision on a submission in November from the Borough Council, either on our own or in conjunction with other authorities as it works out in the negotiations that are taking place through the Leaders Board, through our individual meetings with other councils, so that we get what we hope would be the best deal for Newcastle Borough out of this. But I'll go back to what we originally said and continually said in our motions that have come to this council, and also we say in the leader's statement that this is unnecessary. This is not going to improve services for local people. I think, as it says in the leader's statement, the strategic authority area, which is this layer that the government want to put above, which would bring money down from central government and powers on regeneration, on transport, on skills and jobs. That is what we should be fighting for. And that, unfortunately, now is in abeyance, has been put on the back burner because we have been forced now to do this local government reorganisation. All of us in Staffordshire agreed a submission to the government for a strategic authority, that bigger layer, which does all of those things I've said, in September, and we could have been moving forward with that now. But unfortunately, the government has now put that on the back burner while we do all of this local government reorganisation, spend money we could be spending on other things to make a council probably that wouldn't be the improvement in services we desire or the cost savings that we desire in the end, and would mean the history of the borough probably being cast away in favour of a merger into Stoke-on-Trent, the bigger authority in North Staffordshire. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Tagg, thank you for that very comprehensive response. But before I move on, does anybody else have any questions for the leader? No, thank you. Then moving on. Members, paragraph 5 is about the Kidsgrove Town Deal update. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 5? Councillor Stubbs, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the leader's statement, Councillor Tack claims, and I quote from the report, an additional 1.9 million has been allocated to support a new package of initiatives. Through the leader, can I ask the portfolio holder for finance to confirm whether or not an additional 1.9 million has been received, or this 1.9 million is actually a reallocation within the current budget, and which projects have lost the 1.9 million to make that one to move to the allocation? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stubbs. Councillor Skelding, please.
Thank you. It's more of a comment rather than a statement. I do welcome this investment utilising the town deal. It's unfortunate that it's such a vastly reduced amount than what we were promised in the first place. But I think it's worthwhile noting that the renovations and refurbishment to the train station that's mentioned in there, that we do have passed, we do have given form on utilising funds like this. Money that's been well spent before. We've had the Kidsgrove Sports Centre that we reopened. We had the CCTV that was put into place. We've had Newcastle pump track and Chatley Valley that can generate up to 1,700 new jobs for the area. So we do welcome this funding and do welcome the development on the Kidsgrove train station. And I'm excited to see how it will look when it is completed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Skelding. Councillor Burnett Faulkner, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a local councillor and resident and trustee of Kidsgrove Sports Centre, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome the further investment in Kidsgrove via the town deal money. 1.9 million on enterprise units, a learning centre, towpath improvements and improvement to the public realm is most welcome, and everyone in the town will benefit from these things. But can the leader give some more details on progress relating to the station refurbishment, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burnett Faulkner. Councillor Tagg, would you respond, please?
Thank you. Just on Councillor Stubbs, I think he really knows the answer to this, doesn't he? Because he knows that allocation is coming from the funding that was there for the shared hub development, which again has been sort of rejigged now into these points of the units on the meadows, the community learning centre, which is a community hub in the King's School, and then those towpath and public realm improvements as well. So that money is within the town deal. It hasn't come from any new money. It's the allocation of the money that's already there. So that clarifies that. Thank you, Jill, for the question relating to the station. I think we're at a stage now where we can move forward on a refurbishment of the station, and the town deal board met earlier in the week and asked the officers to go back to the government and ask for a plan to be agreed, that the East Midlands Railway people had put together a scheme which is a full refurbishment of the station, and will be, I think, a really good job. Over £2 million worth of investment in a new station site. If people remember the history, obviously the car park around it is liable to need a study to see if there's any mine workings and other stuff, which was too expensive to remediate. The previous government had indicated there was money available. The new government have said that money was never available in the first place. There's an argument could go on there, but there isn't any money. That's where we are now. So we're now cracking on with a scheme that is just the station refurb and not the car park. And I think from the designs that I've seen, it will look really good. I think it'll be a really credit to Kidsgrove and a modern look and feel and station. Once this has to now go to the ministry to for sign off for this scheme, and once that happens, I'm sure it then will be publicised, and you'll see some of the designs that are available for this. And I think it'll be a really good improvement to the station, and along with all the other stuff which you outlined, the 1.9 million allocation for all of those other things, on top of the sports centre, which of course refurbishment and reopening of that, which Councillor Skelding talked about, and also the pump track, and also the Clough Hall works, and all of that. You'll see we're getting some real improvements for Kidsgrove out of that £16.5 million that the town deal put money into. And I will make this pledge now, and I think the board will also make this pledge, is that if there is any money left out of this, we will ensure that other schemes come forward to allocate that money, so no money goes back, and that will be other improvements in the Kidsgrove parish area as well. Oh, well, let's not forget also, Mr. Mayor, is the money that was used for the making Chatterley Valley viable for businesses and investors to come in. That work has now been taken place for using some town deal money, investment by the previous county council administration. Now we're having people coming on there who are going to start to build those units that will create those jobs. That's 1,700 jobs that will be created on Chatterley Valley for people of not just Kidsgrove but North Staffordshire as a whole as well. So some good news coming, and the good news on the station is we will be moving forward with a refurbishment, and more details will come in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Tagg. Are there any more speakers on? Oh, Councillor Sweeney, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I know Councillor Stubbs would be disappointed if I didn't mention this, and I too welcome these 1,700 jobs in Chatterley Valley. I went to planning last week. I don't often sit on planning, but I was a substitute, and I went on Tuesday. And 2 of the applications are coming through now, so that's the progress we're making for 1,700 jobs. And so I absolutely welcome that, and I'm sure all members of this group do. It's unfortunate Councillor Stubbs doesn't, but that's up to him. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Tagg, would you just like to oh, sorry, Councillor Wheeldon, I didn't see your hand. You were hiding it. Oh, absolutely. So please, Councillor Wheeldon.
Just pointing out, in days gone by, as someone who travelled consistently between Cheshire and Stoke, being a Stokey girl at the time, Kidsgrove Station was always one of the key places. It was always beautifully furbished with flowers and plants, and there was a degree of competitiveness in those days between stations to look good. The Harecastle Tunnel and the canal there are now becoming quite a little tourist spots. So it's nice to know that, along with everything else that's been pointed out in paragraph 5, there are a lot of pluses that have come from the organisation and the attention to detail that this Conservative-led council have actually dealt with. All that I would ask is, do we have sufficient money, and are we going to be able to get sufficient to refurbish the station so that it looks at least as good and is as accessible as it was in its heyday, and therefore any increased tourism that may come from other things in the area is provided for?
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. Well, we've certainly enjoyed our walk along the canal, that part of the boundary walk. So it is a very nice area. Councillor Tagg, would you like to comment on those 2 points, please?
Further to add, but I agree with the comments that have been made.
Thank you. I assume there are no further speakers, so we will move on to paragraph 6, which is about the financial performance review report, 4th quarter, 2024-25. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 6, please? Yeah, Councillor Bryan was saying. Brian was too. Sorry, I'm just having an argument with the Chief Executive as to who was first. I think it was actually Councillor Crisp. I'm sorry, but Councillor Crisp has it, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I welcome the launch of the new supporters group for Newcastle-under-Lyme's Brampton Museum. It is a fantastic way to preserve our local heritage and allow residents to actively contribute to conservation efforts and help shape future exhibitions, protecting the long-term future of the museum. Can the portfolio holder outline what plans are in place to promote the new supporters group and inspire more locals to get involved? Will there be use of social media, community events, or collaborations with local schools and businesses? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bryan, please.
Thank you. The Q4 finance report indicates how this council is run. Could the portfolio holder update the council on the financial revenue budget outturn figure at the end of the last financial year, please?
Thank you, Councillor Bryan. Councillor Skelding, I think the first question was maybe for you, I don't know, but you're the next to ask a question. Sorry, Councillor Tagg.
I am off who speaks, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I would say thank you for the questions. I will refer them to the portfolio holders in a second, but I think talking about the museum, the reason it's been brought up on this part of the agenda is because it's really well performing. It's a credit to this borough, and it's one of those things when we talk about local government reorganisation, one of the things we could lose, isn't it? Under that, would a larger council have a priority of the museum? And I'm keep making this point because it's so important. And as we've seen from the question, which I'll ask Councillor Skelding to answer, it's a much loved establishment and one that's got a very bright future. And I think this new initiative that's been brought forward is brilliant. So I'll ask Councillor Skelding to answer that first question, and then the portfolio to answer the second one as well.
Thank you. Please. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Chris, for your question. Yeah, the museum new supporters group was actually launched on Friday, and it's in part a continuation of the Friends of the Museum group it's been run over the last few years, that if you're aware of, it's been run very successfully. The team at the site are very experienced in utilising social media, be it Twitter, Facebook, on the Facebook pages at the museum, and also linking it with the Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council website as well. School events and collaborations have always been a useful tool for promoting the site, and not only that, but engaging with a younger demographic, helping them to generate an awareness and an interest in the local heritage. The group was launched on Friday at a fundraising event, and it was very well received. I think the good Lord Mayor attended himself with his wife, and we spoke there. The fundraising event, it was to engage with local businesses and individuals who can become members of, friends of, and members of the awareness group for the museum. Now, by donating £25, this is actually met by a prize match by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, who they will then double that amount. So donations can be made online, in person at the museum, or you can even phone to the museum if you need any more information. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Skelding. It was very, very enjoyable on Friday afternoon. And for the benefit of members, both myself and the Mayoress have joined the supporters group. Councillor Tagg, there was then the second question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your question, Councillor Bryan. Before I go to answer that, I was at Spode on Saturday, looking at an exhibition of black and white photos, and some guys got 20,000 of these photos, and they're all sort of Longton and Fenton based. But I believe that exhibition is come to the Brampton. and hopefully there'll be pictures of Newcastle. And if they are, I absolutely recommend people to go, because the quality of the photos on display were absolutely superb. I know people say black and white photos are better than colour, and they certainly were. So say if it does come in, it's Newcastle pictures, I'd recommend that to anybody. That was digressing a bit there. If I can answer Councillor Bryan's question, yeah, I think this council is a superbly well-run council. I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud to be a member of it. But especially the finance team, we've reduced for the year end a surplus of £20,000 on our revenue budget, which I think in its current day and age is a phenomenal achievement. I think it's something this council should be very proud of. Thank you, Mr.
Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Councillor Skeldon, did you have a question of your own, please?
Thank you. Not so much a question. I just noticed on there that there's a mention of the Jubilee 2 Centre. And it's just more of an update, a bit more detail than what's an already great report. But the Jubilee Centre as well is doing very well. Current memberships at 4,192. The Wellbeing Centre referral programme, that's engaged with 470 referrals, of which 60% are now converting onto full membership. So it's got a good conversion rate. Moving forward, the swimming lessons with schools, we've got 12 schools that have confirmed their involvement and their bookings, and we're just waiting on another 3 for confirmation, but that's just awaiting on the schools' own budgets for the year themselves. So it's just a bit more detail that I'd like just to make people aware of. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Skelding. Councillor Wheeldon, please.
Mine isn't a question, it's a comment, if I may. As I said earlier on when I was asking the question, I have consulted my residents on a number of issues that were going to come before you tonight. And one of the things that they've noticed and wanted me to highlight was that how pleased they are with the street cleanliness levels that have improved significantly, and they remain at a high standard. It's not a one-off, it's a continuous thing. So I would like, on my residents' behalf, to pass on the congratulations to the streets team by the portfolio holder.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. That's all very encouraging. Are there any other questions? Councillor Tagg, did you wish to say anything further?
I think on the response to Councillor Wheeldon, I would ask Councillor Hutchins to answer.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, the performance reports are looking really good for the year. We have a software that generates streets, A roads, B roads, residential roads, business roads, and then the staff go out 3 to 4 times a week and they inspect the roads. The report, as you can see in the performance report, 98% of the streets checked were free of litter, 100% were free of detritus, 100% were free of graffiti, and 100% were free of fly tipping. Regarding keeping the streets clean, we have a schools team in street scene and neighbourhood delivery. They do litter picks with the local schools. I always think if you educate the children, they'll educate the parents. Just a comment on, again, keeping the streets clean. We have currently 994 dog and general waste bins across the borough, requiring 1,500 empties per week. When emptied, we record how full is the bin. Do we need to increase the capacity? Do we need to increase the frequency of a bin emptying? In addition, in the town centre, we have 900 empties per week of the bins. When emptied, again, we record how full. Do we need to increase the capacity? Do we need to increase the frequency? We take the street cleanliness very clean, very, very keen, and I'm really proud of the street team. And I'd like to thank Councillor Wheeldon for her comments.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hutchison. That probably moves us on to paragraph 7. Which is about the civic pride update. And I think in many ways it follows on naturally. So do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 7, please? Councillor Gorton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A comment and a suggestion, if I may. The comment is that I was pleased to read that a decision had been made to refer the draft Civic Pride strategy to both the authorities' scrutiny committees. I see this really as both good practice and good governance, and it's reassuring to see scrutiny committees being used in this way. And I dare say we will have a stronger and better strategy as a result of scrutiny. The suggestion really is about pillars of work in the draft strategy. The document stresses the council's willingness to work with schools, the college and Keele University. And I'm sure that we would all agree that it is never too early to encourage awareness of civic pride. And with that in mind, I wonder if the strategy should have a specific pillar of work devoted to working with schools, the college and the university, and give examples of the type of work that we would want to be undertaken. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for that comment, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Adcock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just a comment to say, I really welcome this civic pride strategy. I was very grateful. I recently visited Silverdale Primary in my ward, and I was amazed at all the work that they're doing to encourage the children to take pride in where they live and doing projects in their area and to build community connections and to learn more about the heritage of this great borough. And they were very interested to hear about the Civic Pride Investment Fund and how the council can support them. I've also been advertising it to other local groups and churches who are all very interested, and I really look forward to seeing what comes of that and some of the projects being set up. And just to follow on Councillor Gordon's comment, I think it's great that we're seeing schools take initiative in empowering civic pride amongst young children, because when children learn about the heritage of their area and how important it is to have community connections and to take pride in where they live, that stays with them. And I very much welcome that we are supporting that through our empowerment strategy and through our investment fund, and long may it continue.
Thank you very much. I just had two speakers. Councillor Tagg, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you. Thank you for the input from Councillor Gordon. I think a really good point there. And I think through the consultation and through it going to our scrutiny committees, you can put that point forward, and we can certainly look to include that. And welcome the comments from Councillor Adcock as well on that. And I think we've seen the benefits of civic pride out there in our wards, and there's more wards to come, but we've seen the benefits in the town centre. And I think a strategy wrapped around that, which includes all of our partners, which is this is intending to do. Hopefully we can get the word out about the consultation around this. We're planning to hold an event in the Guildhall and also in Kids Grove for people to come in and feed back on the strategy there as well. So look out for that. But look forward to comments coming from the three scrutiny committees we've got, because it's going to all of our scrutiny committees for comment as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. I don't see any more speakers, so I'll move on then to paragraph 8. Paragraph 8 is about the forward plan. Do members have any comments or questions on paragraph 8? No? Okay. Well, thank you for that. And with that, that actually concludes the leader's statement. So we will now move on to the next item of business. Members, agenda item 7. So the next item of substantive business is the reports of the chairs of the scrutiny committees. This is agenda item 7. The report can be found on pages 21 and 22 of your agenda. Reports are attached for the Economy and Place Scrutiny Committee, the Health, Wellbeing and Environment Scrutiny Committee, and the Finance, Assets and Performance Scrutiny Committee. These reports are here for information and to be noted. So please can the reports be received? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 8. Members, the next substantive item of business is the reports of the chairs of the regulatory committees. This is agenda item 8, and the report can be found on pages 23 to 25 of your agenda. The reports are attached for the Planning Committee and the Audit and Standards Committee. The Licensing and Public Protection Committee has not met since the last meeting of the full council. So these reports again are here for information and noting. Please can these reports be received? Thank you. Members, the next substantive item of business is motions from members, and a copy of a motion concerning Wally's Quarry can be found on pages 27 and 28 of your agenda. An amendment to the motion has been proposed by Councillor Simon Tagg and seconded by Councillor Mark Holland, and that can be found on pages 29 and 30 of your agenda. But I understand that the monitoring officer may have some comments at this point.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am advised that the proposer and seconder of the motion wish to withdraw the motion, as they are entitled to do at any time under the Constitution. With your consent, Mr. Mayor.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for hearing my point of order, and we are grateful to the monitoring officer for his advice on the Constitution. I would like to move under Procedure Rule 4.3, and I will give officers a moment to locate the relevant part of the Constitution. I would like to move the suspension of Procedure Rule 4.6 in order that the text of the amended Conservative motion may be debated tonight. I think it is extraordinary. This is the second time I can recall in the current civic cycle that the Labour group have proposed, or members of the Labour group have proposed a motion and then withdrawn it on the floor of this council. Now, I don't move the procedure that I'm moving lightly. I think generally the notice of motion and the reason we're required to give notice of motion is clear. It's so that our officers can look at motions, they can be vetted, they can be printed on the agenda. But what I'm asking you, Mr. Mayor, now is that we vote to suspend Procedure Rule 4.6 because the text that I'd like to move has been proposed and seconded. You know, it's on the agenda, it's been printed, and it has already been seen by everyone, including our officers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. I will just need to take the advice of the monitoring officer, so I will just suspend the meeting momentarily. Thank you, members. Firstly, I'm agreeing that the motion can be withdrawn, so that is accepted. We haven't taken yet a decision as to whether to allow the point of order. And in fact, we've decided that it's necessary to suspend again this meeting, and we'd like to speak with the Leader of the Council, please. Yeah, so that is actually group leaders and deputy group leaders, please. Thank you, members. The meeting is resumed. I mean, clearly you have what is a relatively less than usual situation here. And I had taken advice during the brief adjournment, but it was felt by the three of us here that it then needed a discussion with the leaders and deputy leaders of each of the main groups before we reached a decision as to how to proceed. So they were aware of the decision and the reasoning and what we would do. So within the Constitution, the easy bit is that I, as Mayor, can agree to amending procedures and so forth within the meeting, but I think it has to be carefully considered, which we've had the opportunity to do. And I do apologise to members for the length of time that it has taken. So the decision is that this point of order to discuss the amendment will be allowed. So the discussion will take place. It has been agreed with both parties that this decision to allow the discussion is constitutional and correct. So that is the decision, and we will now proceed on that basis. It comes now to Councillor Tagg to now propose a motion without notice, which is essentially the text of the amendment that was tabled. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your deliberation. I will move what is now the motion as printed. And the Conservative Group supported what was a lot of what was the previous published Labour motion, and we generally felt it needed improving to emphasise our commitment to standing up for residents of Newcastle-under-Lyme and to ensure that their voices are heard loud and clear, particularly to national government, which has been the case since this crisis began at Wally's Quarry, whether that's by full council resolutions, a scrutiny inquiry, or meetings with the Environment Agency officers, with civil servants or ministers. The list goes on over the last 5 years. And this motion now really strengthens that position for accountability and action. It reaffirms our demand for a public inquiry into the Environment Agency's regulatory failures when it comes to Wally's Quarry. And it expands on that appeal to the relevant authorities as well, both local and national, to work together to ensure that the site is made safe, restored, and that public health is protected now and in the future. We're also calling for a stronger engagement with our current MP, Adam Jogi, in the clear request to government to guarantee the costs of remediation and restoration so that they will not fall on local taxpayers, local council taxpayers. And we also call on the new leadership of Staffordshire County Council, who could play a key role in planning and permitting permits for the site, to join us and still stand shoulder to shoulder with us when it comes to Wally's Quarry, when we represent the issue with the government and with the Environment Agency and others. And it's vitally important that the Environment Agency continue to deliver all necessary actions to ensure Wally's Quarry is safe, and to ensure the site doesn't pose a further threat to the public through risk of pollution or harm to public health. And it is they that must commit meaningfully, I believe, to support financially the ongoing restoration and mediation of the site also. And the EA must maintain continuous monitoring of the site using their mobile monitoring facilities. And we want them also, and then Councillor Adcock mentioned it earlier when we discussed it under the statement, we want them to hold a public stakeholder meeting to outline their position by the end of December. And I can assure members and members of the public that we have not forgot about the former operator. The council is determined to pursue Wallis Quarry Limited through the liquidators at the extent of what community law allows. Odours are reduced, as we discussed earlier, complaints are down, and the site is being made safe. So supporting this motion tonight will ensure that we keep the pressure on those that are responsible to ensure this landfill is fully capped off and restored, and that those that have failed the people of this borough for many years are held to account via a public inquiry. I move the recommendation. The motion.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. I understand, Councillor Holland, you would like to second what is now this motion without notice.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that is correct. I think some of what I intended to say is no longer relevant, but I will speak from my notes. And happily, my name is on the page as seconder of the motion, so you can see, members can see what actions I think, what I agree with Simon Tagg, what I agree with the Leader of the Council are necessary at the current time. I think we all know that Wallis Quarry is a problem that does not magically disappear as the former operator has done. I think the residents of our borough deserve representatives who will fight for every action that can be taken to bring justice in its widest sense and the safe remediation of the site for the long term. And to that extent, I commend the Labour Group for the wording, part of the wording that still appears in the motion that's in front of us tonight. I think we are clear. I agree with Councillor Tagg. The national framework for the protection of our residents from harm has failed our residents in this instance. It is therefore right that these national bodies are held accountable practically and financially for the clean-up. At the Wallis Quarry Committee of Inquiry last year, we dared to imagine the foreseeable circumstances that the operator might, for some reason, no longer be in operation of the site. I asked the Member of Parliament for reassurance then that the burden of remediation and site restoration would never rebound on local taxpayers who have already suffered enough. I think his answer was that he agreed with the principle and would be prepared to lobby government accordingly. Well, now is the time for that. Local government has fulfilled its responsibilities to our residents, and we did so in the teeth of opposition from the Environment Agency. Local government, like the local campaign groups and the local NHS, which were paid tribute to in the report of the Committee of Inquiry last year, has been warning national government and the national regulator for years about the dangers and the costs associated with the situation where we now find ourselves. In restating the request that we want to make tonight for a public inquiry, it is really useful to be having this debate actually this week. The Independent Water Commission under Sir John Cunliffe published its report on Monday, and findings were met immediately by a statement from the Secretary of State for the Environment accepting a number of its recommendations, including the wholesale reform of water industry regulation, a slice of which currently belongs to the Environment Agency. The Commission found that water sector regulation has lost public trust, and the regime has not sufficiently overseen the protection of the environment. Now, a great quantity of that Commission's report will sound familiar to anybody who has been involved in Wallis Quarry. Sir John heard evidence that environmental compliance monitoring is slack and enforcement by the Environment Agency is slow and hamstrung by regulatory red tape. Now, we've yet to see Steve Reed's response bear fruit, but what is clear this week is that if the government wants to fix broken environmental regulation, it can. The Water Commission did not even have the powers of a public inquiry. So imagine how much more powerful a proper independent scrutiny of failures in waste management could be. That is why it is right that this motion we're debating tonight puts legs on our call for the government to deliver that inquiry and to deliver that funding to make things right. They can do it if they want to. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Holland. Procedurally, we now have a situation where the motion has been proposed and seconded. So that then means we come to the debate on the motion. So if you would like to speak on this motion, will you please raise your hand? And a number of members, I'm sure, wish to speak. So it'll just take a few moments for this to be noted down, and then I'll call members from each side in order. Thank you. Thank you. Given the situation, I think it's fair to call on Councillor Jones first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think before I get into the focus of what I'd like to speak about tonight, I think it's really important that we acknowledge that we are where we are in terms of Wally's Quarry, and as we heard when this item was debated under the leader's statement, that we are currently in quite a good place in terms of odours from the site. And I've long said that the EA seems to have proven itself as a really excellent landfill operator and a pretty poor regulator, which is something that is quite astonishing. But I think it's important we acknowledge that we are here because of the closure notice that was served. And before I get on to the debate, I'd like to thank our MP Adam Jogi for his strong lobbying efforts in ensuring that the Environment Agency served that closure notice and that action, which has led to a demonstrable change in us as residents and the blight that we had to suffer. Rightly so, with the closure notice in place, our attention turns towards restoration. And the situation we find ourselves in now isn't one that was, without prediction. Councillor Holland mentioned during the inquiry that there was this unspoken theory that the operator would do a flit. But actually, we've been talking about this for a long time, and residents have been talking about this for a long time. There's always been this concern that the minute that a closure notice is served, that the operator would undergo the process that it did. I think it's absolutely atrocious that operators are allowed to do this, but unfortunately, these loopholes are available to be exploited. And it seems that the people who have caused misery for the residents are able to walk away from this pretty much scot-free, which is absolutely galling. But actually, attention on this was focused a number of years ago. I wrote a letter along with Councillor Fox-Hewitt and Adam Jogi, who was then a candidate, not the MP, to the leader of Staffordshire County Council, calling on the County Council. We wanted to raise our concerns about restoration, but significantly our concern that the bond was insufficient to meet the needed requirements of that restoration. In fact, the bond, which was set such a long time ago, hadn't been modified at all by inflation or taking into account increased costs of restoration of the site. These concerns were not listened to. And as we all suspected, the people that profiteered from this misery got away with it. At that point, Staffordshire County Council could have re-evaluated the bond. This was an option that was available to them, but they declined to do that. There are examples of authorities that have done this. Somerset County Council in 2015, Essex County Council in 2017, and Greater Manchester in 2019. These councils didn't just re-evaluate the bond of one landfill site, they re-evaluated the bond of all of the landfill sites within their area. It was an option for Staffordshire County Council to do, which they didn't take. They dropped the ball on this because that was the point to start clawing back some of that money so it didn't then fall on the residents to be able to pick up that bill or national taxpayers. And I think it's really important to note that when this letter was sent, the activity at the site was at the highest levels we've seen in a long time. So there was significant sums of money coming into the operator at that point, which would have made it very difficult for them to make an argument against an increased bond. But instead, this has put the financial burden on the taxpayers. Now, I suppose this raises the question of who is going to pay. And I'm afraid we can talk about whether that money comes entirely from government or whether that money partially comes from those who were supposed to ensure that the bond was actually raised when it wasn't. But wherever it comes from, it is going to be a levy on residents, whether it comes from local council budgets or whether it comes from national government. It's still the residents of Newcastle who are paying that tax, whether it's national insurance, whether it's VAT or whether it's income tax that they're paying. That money is still coming from the residents of this borough. What has happened is that there's been a failure to actually ensure that that money in the bond was sufficient to cover the substantial costs that were going to occur if the operator walked away, including in the letter concerns that the operator might walk away. So it wasn't as if we were just inventing this and out of thin air. These were genuine concerns that we had, that residents have had. I guess I will be supporting the motion tonight for a number of reasons. I think it lets Staffordshire County Council off the hook, which is a shame. But I do think, I have always agreed that we do need to have a public inquiry, and perhaps this could form element of that public inquiry. You know, which authorities didn't step up to the plate? I know this authority stepped up to the plate, and I've been very proud of that. But I'm afraid I don't think Staffordshire County Council 2 years ago stepped up to the plate when it could have done and secured a bigger bond. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Adcock, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very glad we are able to have the debate on the Wally's Quarry motion. I think it's always welcome to be talking about Wally's Quarry, and especially now, even though, as I said earlier, we've seen improvement at the site, there is considerable concern as to what happens next. To quote the letter I received from the Environment Agency last week, the EA says the role of the Environment Agency is to assess compliance with permits and to take appropriate regulatory action if we identify any breaches. The closure notice that we issued on the 28th of November 2024 did not change this. We continue to assess the compliance with the permit and the steps in the closure notice. However, there is no longer a landfill permit in relation to the site. It was disclaimed by the liquidators appointed by Wally's Quarry Limited in February 2025. Since the permit was disclaimed, we've been arranging for steps to be taken at the site using our discretionary powers under Regulation 57 of the Environmental Permitting England and Wales regulations of 2016 to remove the risk of serious pollution. The work on the site is being funded using the financial provision that Wally's Quarry Limited provided, as is a requirement of its permit. Now, it does acknowledge in the letter that there is concern about what happens next, and they say they're working with their partners in the Crown Estate, including meeting with the County Council and ourselves as the Borough Council. But there is considerable concern amongst the residents that we represent that where the EA's role ends and what happens next. And as we discovered during the Committee of Inquiry last year, the EA admitted that they had never prematurely closed a landfill site in England. So the situation becomes somewhat unprecedented. However, I do think it's right that in this motion, which we have given serious teeth, I think, that we are reiterating once again our call for a public inquiry into the EA and their failure, because it can't be overstated enough that residents have suffered as a result of the failures of their regulation. There are children in Silverdale who have potentially had their lives shortened by the constant breathing in of toxic air, which is a national scandal. And to reiterate the public inquiry, and I think now the immediate crisis has passed and we're seeing improvement, surely now is the time for the beginnings of a public inquiry to begin to take shape. By mentioning the harm to public health for local residents in this motion is absolutely appropriate. As I outlined, there has been significant harm to public health, as we heard from the statements from local doctors in the inquiry committee. Talking about, we've also mentioned the MMFs in this motion. We mentioned the one at the pumping station. I'm glad there's discussions around maybe having that back should the worst happen. But we also want to make sure through this motion that we're calling for the site to continue to be monitored with the 2 remaining MMFs for as long as there is a risk. We have not yet had a winter without significant issues at this site. Now, I would hope with all the good work that's gone on in clearing the site that there will not be an issue in this coming winter. But yet you can understand that residents are sceptical, having been told several winters prior that the issues are getting better and have been resolved. I think it would be premature to remove MMS at this stage. It is right that we're calling for them to be continuously monitored in this motion. As I mentioned earlier, it's completely right that we involve the residents in this and put them at the heart of it by having a public meeting where they can put their questions directly to the Environment Agency. People deserve to have their questions answered about what is the long-term future of the site? What does restoration look like? Where will the money be coming from? Will it fall on local taxpayers? We all agree that would be totally unacceptable. It's absolutely right that we're asking the Secretary of State and the government to get involved at this stage, as we've called for before many times, because, as I said, this situation has little precedent. It is important that we put the residents at the heart of this, and I fully back this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adcock. Councillor Brown, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's really good to hear the leader talking about the responsibilities of the county council and ensuring the new administration give us their support on what has been the most important issue facing this council. But I can't agree with Councillor Holland when he says local government has done all it can. If we look on page 26 of the Wallis Quarry inquiry that I was part of, the decision of Staffordshire County Council in allowing an increase in the tonnage of waste in October 21, even before the end of the consultation period, we could say that that was allowable in the EA regulation, but that decision was still made and it still had significant impact on the issue at hand. Now, I was due to second this motion, and I was calling on the council to resolve to do all it could to ensure the long-term health and safety of residents in my ward and beyond. Members of this council have a proud record in standing together to protest and act against the pollution disaster at Wallis Quarry Limited. In fact, it's only last August when I was interviewed for a BBC programme transmitted in Germany with the leader of the council beside me outside the gates of the landfill site. The experienced interviewer said he had never seen a Conservative and Labour councillor protesting together and forming a common cause against a blight on their community. People in Silverdale are relieved that the toxic odours have subsided following the closure notice. However, there remains an elephant in the room. What happens next? And can we be sure that the site is kept and restored effectively and permanently? We can all agree this disaster should never have happened, and we can debate why and how it did for months, even years to come. Many stakeholders worked tirelessly to get the closure. This motion aimed to ensure all power holding stakeholders work in a joined up and effective way to get the best outcomes for those still dealing with the many consequences.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Fear, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I hope at the end of the day we will have the unity that this council has had throughout this sorry business in trying to ensure that this terrible thing is finally put to bed. We must be very careful, as has already been said by colleagues on both sides, that we don't snatch defeat from the jaws of victory and keep an eye on this stuff as we go into the autumn and to the winter. The reason why I think I would have backed the amendment, the motion as it is now, is really for two reasons. The first is the issue of who is going to pay to put this right. This is a problem that was caused originally in the teeth of democratic opposition, both at the borough and, as I recall, at the county by national government. They made this mess. They should clear it up. I'm glad Councillor Jones agrees with me that taxation is taken in all sorts of ways. It is a wicked thing, but nonetheless, sometimes it is a necessary thing. On the other hand, if we say that this is going to be cleaned up by local authorities, those finances are already under stress. That will mean local services will be damaged. That's why we should be looking for the national government to do this. It can afford it. The government's very keen on telling us there's a huge financial black hole, and then the next week there's a few million for a dodgy regime which sort of overlooks the killing of religious minorities here, the betrayal of islanders and a few billion thrown in there, and so on and so forth. So it's not the case that the government cannot afford this. It's their mess. They should clean it up. The second reason for my support for this motion, for the amendment as was, is the question of a national inquiry. We've already had raised again from colleagues on both sides of the political divide this evening the poor performance of the Environment Agency. I agree with Councillor Jones, they seem to be in the wrong sort of business, don't they? They're quite good at one sort of thing, but actually their stated business, they're not very good at all. Now, everybody in this chamber is accountable. We will all go to elections next year, and if people don't like us, they can get rid of us. What about the bureaucrats of the Environment Agency, those who presided over and turned a blind eye to many things, were incompetent in other ways? When are they going to be accountable? And that's the only way we can do that is having a public inquiry. We owe it, in my opinion, to the residents of this borough to make sure that those who helped perpetuate this blight are also held to account. The only way to do that is to have a public inquiry. Once again, as I pointed out, the government can find plenty of money for all sorts of strange things when it wants. This would not cost a great deal of money. It affects people here in Britain, in our borough. They should have it. And for those two reasons alone, I would urge everyone to vote for this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. Councillor Fox-Hewitt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to touch on 2 points in the motion or amendments, amended motion. The issue of a public inquiry, 3C. So, you know, it calls for the leader and chief executive to write to Adam Jogee MP to seek a specific assistance in supporting the council's call for a public inquiry. But we just need to be clear. Neither the government, they haven't refused a public inquiry, and indeed, Adam Jogee MP for Newcastle-under-Lyme has also supported the need for a public inquiry. He's said so in the Commons, in a Commons debate, and he's also said so in a Westminster Hall debate. But he called for that inquiry to take place at the correct time. And when we're examining what the correct time is, well, what's the purpose of a government inquiry? Well, it's an official investigation to examine and report on matters of public concern. So you have to ask yourself, why would you commence a public inquiry when we've not yet resolved the case of Wally's Quarry? If the purpose is to learn lessons of what's gone wrong, improve regulatory frameworks, or to hold people to account, then that inquiry can only come at the end of that journey when everything's been closed down, to examine those lessons learned and to hold people to account, and that everything's captured. So the persistent calls for some kind of immediate agreement to hold a public inquiry now are premature for those very reasons. And again, as a number of colleagues have stated, it's difficult when as a council we are clear and united in saying that people and institutions need to be held to account, yet we have something that proposes that we omit Staffordshire County Council to examine their part as well in the failure of oversight and the failure to secure adequate controls and monetary value in the event of liquidation, even in the face of persistent non-compliance by that operator. You know, this wasn't something that was unforeseen, was a shock, was a cliff edge moment. It was years of non-compliance. So I do find it personally difficult that we are omitting any criticism of the role that Staffordshire County Council played, or indeed a request that they should be working with us to examine what funds they can support the ongoing restoration of the site. So I think I wanted to clarify those two elements. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Fox-Hewitt. Councillor Wheeldon, please.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for the detail. I'm not looking at the detail. I'm just looking at the motion overall. We have a situation where for many years, we as residents, and I'm one of the residents of an affected area, and also as representatives of other residents, have suffered for many, many years with Wallis Quarry. Our relatively new MP and the new county councillors are just that new. They're not all from this area at all, so they don't understand the impact over the decades that Wallis Quarry has had on people. There is a lack of understanding. Therefore, it's important to continue to put pressure on these people so that they get some semblance of understanding of what we've all gone through. It cannot be watered down. So whilst I thank the Labour group for their verbiage in their original motion, I also thank profusely Councillor Tagg and Councillor Holland for beefing up what was rather a watery and wet version. It has to be beefed up. We have to recognise that the EA should have been doing then what they're now doing. We can't take the foot off the gas. And the beefing up is writing to the appropriate people who should know what we've been through, who should know what we expect of them. There's an old saying, you need to talk to the organ grinder, not the monkey. So addressing emotion to a load of monkeys is probably not as effective as addressing it to a group of organ grinders. So I think it's important that the motion go ahead, beefed up, and I support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeldon. That actually completes the list of people that did indicate earlier they wanted to speak. But given the importance of this, I'm asking if anybody else would wish to speak. No, fine, thank you. Then in which case, could I ask Councillor Simon Tagg to sum up, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for members for contributing to the debate, and hopefully we can have a unanimous decision on this motion tonight, so we take another step in our position as a Borough Council in ensuring that this problem ends. Just to respond to a couple of things in the debate, I think the issue of whether we hold the government to account for this, I think my group here is quite proud of the fact that we took this position when our party was in government. I remember calling out Rishi Sunak here for not responding to my letters, and we do the same under this government too, without fear or favour, and we'll continue to do that whatever government comes in if this crisis continues to go on. I think it was Councillor Fox-Hewitt that talked about the public inquiry. The Secretary of State has not committee to a public inquiry when we've asked him and we've wrote to him, and we wrote in the form of at the right time. So when is the right time? We were told it wasn't why the operator was in place. Now the operator's gone, it's not the right time. We've got to leave it for a bit. I think we've seen with the post office issue, the longer you leave these things, the more damage that it does. So I think a commitment would be good to a public inquiry, and then a date would be even better to move this forward. So I don't intend to say any more. I think that the motion is quite clear. It sets out the parameters of which we should move forward. And I think it does, we will write those letters to those people we need to. We will ask them to respond to move this forward on behalf of our residents, so that we are looking, all of us, towards the autumn and the winter to see what effect that has. We hope that it remains as it is now, low complaints, low monitoring data, and also a well-run site. And I agree with Councillor Jones, the Environment AG ain't doing a bad job, or its contractors aren't, to put some of the problems right which were left by the operator. I visited the site. I went right to the top of the centre of the site with the EA, with the Borough Council officers, with the County Council officers at that meeting that we had. Councillor Fox-Hewitt, I'm not sure you came to it, but you were at the meeting, weren't you? We were clearly right in the middle of it. We were pointed out what work had been done since the operator had left to rectify some of the issues, the flanks, the pool of bubbling gassy water, etc. And the improvement is all there to be seen. What we need to see is this maintained now through to restoration and the end of this problem for the people of Newcastle. So I'm completely no problem with reaffirming my commitment to propose this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. The motion has been moved and seconded and debated, so we will now move to the vote on this. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. That vote is unanimous. Before I move on to the next agenda item, I would just like to thank members for their patience whilst I adjourn the meeting. I feel as mayor that in such situations, I don't want to act quickly, and I wanted to make sure that we had all the information and that all the parties were aware of the discussion. So that's why we took time over it, which I think was entirely appropriate given the importance of this particular topic to our community. So thank you very much indeed, members. Agenda item 10 is questions to the Mayor, Cabinet members and committee chairs. I've received 4 questions for the leader and cabinet members. These can be found on page 31 of your agenda pack, and they'll also be shown on the screens. And I'll ask the leader or the relevant cabinet member to respond to the question as shown, after which I will ask the member who submitted the question if they have a supplementary question. Could I please remind members that if they have a supplementary question, it must be a question and not a statement, and it must be concise, focused, and relate to the subject matter of the initial question and answer. The first question is from Councillor Mark Holland regarding DOGE savings and is now on the screen. Councillor Simon Tagg, your response, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Holland. I think it's in the news. It's a topic which is we hear about on social media a lot. Is this Doge savings, and I know that the county council is waiting for that to descend upon it as well from the party hierarchy in the Reform Party. But from our point of view, I think the efficiencies that are attached to the Doge agenda are nothing new. In this council, we've held what are called efficiency boards since 2018. And I can say that through that funding strategies that have come out of that, during that period, we've saved over almost £17 million in savings to enable us to balance the financial position each and every year. And through that, we've actually improved services. We've not seen any reduction in service, and we've seen no redundancies neither from that. So I think we already are having efficiency savings in this council. We started the process again this year for the efficiency board. Obviously, that feedback comes through cabinet, through to scrutiny, and then eventually to full council for the budget to be made in February. I'm still a county council member, of course, yeah, and I obviously see the conversations that are going on at the county council about this, and I know that the new leadership there have set up. They don't call it Doge; they call it a efficiency review of the finances of the council. And I think they're trying to say this is the newest thing ever, this is great, and hasn't this ever happened before? Well, in Newcastle Borough Council, we've been doing it for a number of years and we'll carry on doing it. And I think most authorities across the area. And I will be nice to the Labour group, because I am always nice to the Labour group, but I go back to 2018 there, which is when this administration took over and I became leader for the second time. But previous to that, many millions of pounds were saving because we had to. Obviously, because of the austerity agenda then was saved by the previous administration too. So I think it's not new. I think what is up for debate over this is where you do make the savings. And of course, we'll come forward with a measured proposals of savings again to save almost another £2 million, which is what we're looking at through our MTFS. Again, we're well on the way to it, and we will be producing an MTFS later in the early autumn. Is that we make decisions not to close our toilets in town. We make a decision to support the museum and the Guildhall. We make decisions to do the Queen's Gardens, lovely flower displays, even though we're moving more and more to sustainable, which are more cost effective. But that is a signature of Newcastle Borough, and we have flower displays across the borough, of course, not just in the town centre. They could be challenged. they could be doged and removed. But I will say I'll go out and tell my voters in Westlands and in other areas that we're doing this for a reason, and this is the reason. Vote for us for that. So I think it comes down to how you spend your money, how you make your savings, and what you prioritise. And that's what efficiency savings is all about, and that's what our process is about. And I'll defend that at the ballot box. And of course, at the end of it, every year during this term, we've done a 1.99%, under 2% council tax rise. And I would challenge the county council to do that this year and see where we get in February. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tagg. And Councillor Hon, do you have a supplementary?
In the interest of efficiency, no, Mr. Mayor.
Well, that's highly efficient, Councillor Holland. The next question is from Councillor Richard Gorton regarding Ian Lemmy Kilmister, and he's on the screen. Councillor Craig Skelding, please, your response.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Gorton, for posing this question. First of all, I'd like to offer my condolences to the family of John Michael Osborne, otherwise you might know him as Ozzy, who passed away yesterday. Now, he was a very long, a lifelong friend and dear friend of Lemmy Kilminster, and my condolences go out to his family. It's another great rock icon that we've lost, who was, like Lemmy, performing till the end of his career. So I offer my condolences for that. Right, now back to the question. Lemmy, yeah, indeed, he did spend a lot of time in Madeley, here in the borough, before the age of 10, moving then to Anglesey. Now, the council, we were recently looking at how to celebrate one of his famous lost sons. We did have discussions with the commissioners of the statue recently about the unveiling in Burslem that took place. If we could have that unveiling, have that statue in Newcastle, in the new Astley Place, alongside the new music venue that we're developing with Giles's Brewery. And there is a mention of a Motorhead-themed restaurant there called calling it the Ace of Spades. That's been mentioned as well. Unfortunately, the commission has selected Burslem, which was actually Lemmy's birthplace. That's why the statue was there. Now, a couple of months ago, I had the privilege, before the unveiling, of meeting with the sculptor, Andy Edwards, and he explained to me it wasn't Stoke-on-Trent Council that paid for the commissioned statue. Andy Edwards actually donated it himself. The only involvement the Stoke-on-Trent Council had is the planning permission of where to put it. And the sculptor did feel that not only would it be in the birthplace of Lemmy himself, but Lemmy played a gig there in 1981 called the Heavy Metal Holocaust. And apparently you could hear it all around the borough anyway, it was that loud. But with him referring to this as his homecoming gig, Andy the sculptor felt that the statue should be placed in Burslem rather than our proposal of looking into Newcastle Borough. So we have looked into a national blue plaque scheme for his childhood home in Madeley, like I say, where he spent nearly 10 years of his life. But unfortunately, it doesn't match the criteria because he needs to be passed away for 20 years, and Lemmy's only been passed away for 10. Now, I have asked the museum to look into how we can recognise Lemmy as part of Newcastle's rich and vibrant history. Next week, I'm looking to meet with the IFK Legacy Events team, which in part, hopefully meeting up with a woman called Vicky Hungerford, who's the organiser for Bloodstock. I don't think many of you will have been there. And her husband, Alan Hungerford, who was quoted as being Lemmy's guy. So that's where we're at the minute. Hopefully we can get a bit more of the heritage brought this way and get maybe some memorabilia put into the museum for this. And that's where we're at the minute with that. I'm starting to think now that I'm not the only tattooed motorcycle enthusiast, heavy rock fan of Motorhead in the room, and I think Councillor Gordon might like to join me when we go down to the Lemmy's Encore celebrations on Sunday, where they're definitely one of my bands. I don't know if Councillor Gordon agrees, but the band Crusher will be playing there. So you're welcome to join me on that event. We can sip a couple of Jack Daniels and maybe down a couple of bottles of dog there at the same time. All right, thank you.
Well, first of all, the Mayor can't accept any liability for what may or may not occur. But Councillor Gorton, do you have a comment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I must thank the portfolio holder both for his kind invitation and his very informative response. And all I can say is that I'm sure he would agree that at some stage it would be brilliant if we could hold at the Brampton an exhibition which celebrated Lemmy's life and music. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you wish to make a further comment or?
No, that's fine. I will be following this up, like I say, with Vicky Hungerford and Alan Hungerford, if I can get the chance to meet with them, and we'll pursue this further. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Councillor Andrew Fox-Hewitt regarding the Council's grass management strategy, and the question is now showing on the screen. I think this is for Councillor Hutchinson, the portfolio holder. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the benefit of the new councillors here this evening, the grassland management strategy was first adopted and launched in April 2024, when the council began with phase 1, which was growing long grass over 18 sites, covering 60 hectares in total. Phase 2 of the strategy was the consultation and review period of the strategy itself. The consultation has always been advertised on the website and through the strategy itself on page 7 of the grassland management strategy and on page 1 of the policy documents since the adoption in April 2024. The first social media post was done on the 10th of September 2024 on the environment and sustainability part of the Borough Council website and also on Facebook. The consultation was conducted throughout phase 1, where all feedback from residents through word of mouth, complaints, compliments, social media, the Borough Council website and public Borough Council meetings was collated and then analysed during phase 2. It was found that overall 93% of people who engaged with the strategy were either in support or speaking positively about it. These were reviewed by Cabinet members in November 2024. Issues logged included fire safety, where uncut grass could catch fire, to protecting football pitch space. The council flexed its approach with the community and began a mixed approach where there were some mowed areas and some unmowed areas. Phase 2 also found increased biodiversity, which is a good thing, and resource efficiencies, which could then be used for more priority jobs in borough maintenance. Phase 3 of the strategy has since not received any negative comments from residents. Any comments can be made through the Borough Council website. Search for parks and open spaces where you can complain or give compliments. You can also comment on the Environment and Sustainability social media page. Finally, if any of the 43 councillors want to meet with me to discuss any grassland management issues in their ward, you can contact me by email or telephone. I'm happy to meet you and any of your residents. Sunday after church is normally a good time for me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchison. Do you have a supplementary?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for that answer, Councillor Hutchinson. You'll know that we've met in my ward to discuss, and you kindly spent some time going round. Can you confirm then how many respondents were there to the consultation in phase 2 and 3, please?
I don't have that information to hand, Councillor Fox here. I'm happy to find out the information in the next day or two, and I'll send it to you by email.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchinson. The next question is again from Councillor Andrew Fox-Hewitt regarding the Tri-Services building and this question is on the screen. Councillor Sweeney, your response, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Fox-Hewitt, for the question. I do get a bit confused really at times because I wonder if you're mixing up your role as a sort of MP's assistant and as a councillor, you'd sort of not manage to make the split as well as perhaps you could do. I've heard nothing from the MP about this, but we'll wait to see whether it's a coordinated thing and he's going to write it today because you're raising it today. I don't know. You probably know the answer to that. I don't. But the answer I've got, yeah, I went with Councillor Heasom a week last Saturday for the reopening of the Tri-Service Centre. What a tremendous facility it is. We were showing around, well, we've already been around it because Councillor Heasom was in the TA, as was I, so I'm well familiar, and I know the guy who runs the place. I've known him for 30 years. But the answer I've got here is the Tri-Services and Veterans Centre in Hassel Street currently receive 80% of mandatory relief from business rates due to their charitable status. They can apply for further discretionary top-up, but have not applied for it to date. Applications of discretionary top-up are assessed using an established scoring matrix and can be granted on a sliding scale from 0 to 20%, depending on the reasons given. The application form is on our website and can be submitted digitally. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweeney. Councillor Fox-Hewitt, do you have a supplementary, please?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know what the members get confused about. My family spent 70 years service in both the armed forces and emergency services, so that's where the question comes from, Councillor Sweeney, nowhere else, unfortunately. The supplementary is then, can the councillor commit to meeting the Tri-Services Committee and going through the process with them of how to apply for top-up grants on the discretionary rates? Thank you.
Well, I can do, Councillor Fox, here, but it's on the website. The application's there for them to fill in. If you want me to give me Mr. Hammond's phone number, and I'll give him a ring if you want. Is that helpful? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Sweeney, and I hope Councillor Fox-Hewitt, there's a way forward there that's agreeable. Moving us on to agenda item 11. This is to receive petitions from members. I've not been aware of any petitions handed in this evening. So then we move on to items 12 and 13, which relate to urgent business and confidential business. I have no urgent or confidential business that needs to be considered this evening. That therefore concludes the business for this meeting, and I therefore declare the meeting closed. Thank you. All right.